Hello, welcome back to Karting 1. I thought I'd do a quick reaction video to Steve Alvarez Brown's announcement. He's better known as Super GT on YouTube. He's one of the top sort of Gran Turismo YouTubers. He's going to be racing X30 this year in the Ultimate Karting Championship. And he did a video on his channel, and he's been sponsored by Quadrant, which is a kind of... It's like a... I don't know how to call it. It's Lando Norris's sort of side project he has on YouTube and that kind of thing. And they're going to be, and Steve's part of that, and he's sponsoring him to race X30, right? And I just thought it was kind of, I watched the video, and I generally don't watch much of Steve's stuff. I've seen some of his Club 100 stuff and his Gran Turismo stuff. But this video, it was so positive. I had to talk about it for karting in general. Steve's a good karter, that's evident from his Club 100 stuff. I think he did some owner-driver stuff when he was younger as a kid. So he's not completely new to the whole scene. So you can see he's comfortable in it. But I just watched the video, and it was such a sort of, and I hate using this term. I hate it because it's a cliche, but it was quite refreshing. He wasn't walking in like, you know, this is a stepping stone and all that kind of malarkey. I'm going to be racing karts this year. This is it. This is mint. And it was a really sort of cool, enjoyable video. And you can see all the young drivers at Wilton, because I think he filmed on the practice day, all excited because he was there. And it sort of was like it's exactly the kind of sort of framing the sport needs. Because obviously we do such a bad job of promoting the top drivers and all that kind of stuff. Like, we have such a massive opportunity, because we're starting from such a low point, to have these kind of personalities that bring people into the sport. Like, for example, from watching that video, right, it's had about 70,000 views. And on channels, the way YouTube works is, generally speaking, what makes your YouTube channel popular will always garner the most hits. So like Steve's like Gran Turismo content might get 150,000 views, whatever. The karting content, it depends, it might fluctuate. But just like 70,000 views so far, and it's been up for a day, so that's a lot of people watching. And immediately I'm watching it going, this is wicked, this is wicked. And then Lucas goes by, Lucas Anningham, he races for Jack Dex, right? And he's the top guy at Wilton at the moment, you know. So you see him go by, and then Steve's saying, oh, this is Lucas, he's mint, he's quick. And it's like bang, bang, bang. I immediately know who Lucas is. I'm immediately looking out for him. I know Lucas already. I'm playing the role of a hypothetical viewer. And it's like, Lucas is kind of cool as well. Who's this kid? There's a narrative. It's immediate narrative. I don't know whether this is all deliberate in the videos, but it's like I'm immediately more engaged in that one storyline. When there's, you know, the shoots, you know, Steve's racing, Lucas is good. I mean, I don't know if Lucas is doing the UKC this year, so it might all come to nothing. But you immediately like, this is kind of cool, you know. So I just was sort of not blown away, but it was like, this is the content that the sport kind of needs, because it's youthful. It ain't looking down on karting. It's not anything like, hi, and today I'm going to go karting and do some training. It's like nothing like that. It's just like, I'm going karting and mint. And that, I was really was quite impressed by it. I think it's massively positive for the sport. I think the way that it sort of engages with the audience, all that kind of stuff, I really enjoyed it. So... but there was some sort of secondary points what I wanted to talk about for those that are interested in the sort of the politics of the sport in general. So Steve's going to be racing in the Ultimate Karting Championship, the UKC. Now, I was quite sceptical of UKC at the very, very beginning, and I had some big questions and that kind of stuff. But having looked back on how their sort of first season has evolved, and obviously they started during 2020, so a lot of challenges. But just in terms of general kind of the way that the championship looks and feels, just the content, you know, not so much the content, but the promotional material, the look of it all, it just looks more engaging than the Motorsport UK British Championship, which seems to be kind of a bit pale in comparison. And there was a comment that Steve made. He said, we're going to be racing in the UKC this year. And I think he said something like, because they allow onboard cameras. And I found that particularly interesting because the MSA rule is, and this is from the sort of final instructions for the British Championship for Shenington. It says cameras and GoPros are permitted during all practice sessions for personal use only. So one assumes you can't use it for anything else other than analysing yourself. You can't publish it. From time practice onwards, no on-kart cameras are permitted unless requested by the organisers for media purposes. Now, this is quite interesting because we're moving into an age of like media consumption, right, and people making their own content. So, I think the UKC, even without that rule, generally speaking, from a marketing perspective, if I was trying to look for it, just on the way it looks and feels, I would be geared towards more that kind of thing than the British Championship at the moment. But this rule, as I understand it, the inference, and I haven't checked the UKC regs, is that they don't mind people using onboard cameras during a race and publishing it themselves. And that demonstrates a bit more sort of knowledge of the modern media landscape than the MSA, because the MSA outright banning onboard cameras unless you're asked for media use, which one assumes that they assume ownership of the content. It does demonstrate a lack of understanding of the modern way of things. Like if you're trying to get sponsorship and you're trying to engage with an audience, which I think more karters should certainly be doing, without a doubt. Like I know my views are going down and all that kind of stuff because I'm stuck in a room talking about karting. It's not the most positive stuff. But as soon as I get out on track, I know that there's going to be more engagement, more people interested. And for those that are out on track, having onboard footage of racing and that kind of stuff becomes very important in terms of creating content. So if I compare it to Supercross, right, AJ Cantizano, as I understand it, the rules there are you are allowed to use, I think it's about 60 seconds or 90 seconds of onboard footage to use in your own videos. So this is Supercross, which actually is a genuine marketing force. There's broadcast rights, that kind of thing. So you can see why the owners of the series might be a bit stricter on kind of ownership of footage, right? I mean, Motorsport UK is not really selling its content to any broadcasters. So the fact that they've got stricter rules than something like Supercross is quite strange. So I think Motorsport UK should learn from that and understand that for my instinctive sort of looking at it kind of thing, Motorsport UK is always going to have the sort of kind of prestige element to it because of the lineage, but they've kind of destroyed the lineage anyway by giving the British Championship title to all classes, right? So they have to be very careful here because UKC looks very youthful, interesting, and like I said, I was hugely critical. I wasn't publicly critical, but there were certain things I was like that. Ooh, but then again, you know, you get proved wrong and you go, fair enough. I think UKC have come out, and I haven't spoken to many people. I haven't heard any real complaints about it. General feedback is positive. So UKC certainly has a more, and it's IKR, so it's independent. So it's got a youthful feel. You've got this big YouTuber racing in it. And Motorsport UK is kind of, it seems very flat in comparison. Now you might say the entries are good in that and the entries are good in that, but I do think that, you know, UKC is getting 250 entries or whatever it is, you know, in Motorsport UK, you know, they will look at that and go, you know, it's a kind of threat in a certain way. So that I found really interesting. I know I've just talked about 5 minutes about onboard cameras, but it was kind of to sort of describe that we are seeing with Super GT what I think could be a hugely sort of significant series, because seeing someone do karting and having the young drivers look up to him and getting their photos taken with him, that stuff you don't see at kart circuits, right? If Danny Cole or Callum Bradshaw or even like David Foray or Ardigo walk into a kart circuit, you know, most people wouldn't take a second look. And now we've got someone who's racing karts this year, and I don't know what he's going to do next year, you know, whatever. But this year you've got a driver there that genuinely, the people there are excited that he's there. They've taken pictures with him, and whether Steve knows it or not, you know, he will become a kind of a karting figurehead. Because I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at the UKC. You know, I think at the first Wilton race, I did watch the stream on Alpha Live, and I think the heat from the early heats, it looked like he had a big target on his back because he's a big YouTuber, and I think when you it's like it's been sent out with the wolves. You know what I mean? He's going to be a target in those early races at Wilton in the heats and stuff. But I think he did pretty well in the end. I think in the final he's up to 7th or 8th for the wet, so he's a good driver, and I suspect he'll do really well this year in the UKC. So I just wanted to talk about it. I thought it was a hugely positive kind of cool thing, and I hope everybody who in karting gets behind him and supports him. And I know he's got a following that's, from his Gran Turismo stuff and his simming stuff, but I hope that the sport really can get behind him, because I think, I don't know, it's not whether he knows it or not, but he's given people a reason to watch karting, to actually watch karting as kind of fans and people interested in a character. So for me, I'm watching it going, yeah, mint, proper. I'm interested, and I think that's cool. And in addition to that, like I wanted to talk about Jaime Alguersuari. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly. Apologies if I haven't. Obviously, he's racing in KZ. I'm going to be doing the European and World Championships for CIG. And I thought that was another awesome story. It's like, I think he's 30 odd years old now, and he's racing karts again, and it's just like, mint. It's not. It's just another positive story, because it's not so much one of these things, like you often see with ex-drivers, and they're like, I'm going to go into a kart meeting and, young, school at motorsport and that kind of stuff. He's going in and he's racing at the highest level he can, and he was always a good kart, so there's no issue with him jumping back in and being competitive. At the front, it's always going to be hyper competitive, so I wish him all the best. But I just thought that's really cool. And again, it's another reason, because he's not coming in. The thing is, he's retired from motorsport and then he's doing karting again, and it's like, it isn't so much like someone doing a one-off kart race. He's going into it properly and competitively, and it's like another reason to watch karting at that level, because there's a narrative, there's an interesting story. And like, this is the lesson here. Give people a chance to be interested in you, and they will watch. Like, the potential for karting is big, because we're starting from such a low point. I think I posted on Facebook about what's his name? Surname Blur. It's on a podcast about Supercross, and he's saying we need to see people's faces, the riders' faces, and I'm like, Supercross is really good, and they're even talking about seeing people's faces and telling a story, So it's like embedded in that culture that's the stuff that we need to do. And as a sport, I just think with Super GT, Alguersuari, I think those are two really, it's so easy to moan about karting and whatever, but when really positive stories come along, it's like, that's mint. So I just thought, wish him all the best. I've watched his Club 100 stuff. I think he'll probably take to it like a duck to water, really. What a horrible cliche. But I'm confident he's going to do really well. And I think it's just really, I like it. The Club 100 stuff, I'm kind of a bit like, okay, fair enough. But actually going into competitive karting and, doing it in an honest way, I just think it's really good. And I think, wish him all the best. And Steve, if you're watching, you got our support, mate. And the whole sport of karting, because I think it's top that you're doing it. So thank you for watching, everybody. Obviously, like and subscribe. Check out our links below to our Teespring store for merch and all that. So get involved. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links below to our Patreon page and PayPal, and also the links to our merch store on Teespring. Thanks for watching.